Hey everybody, welcome back to this edition of Writer Groupie. Well, you guys, here we are. It's the middle of May already. Can you believe it? Wasn't it just the new year the other day? It seems like time is flying by. And I hope that you are able to sit down and get a little writing done in this busy year. I know I have been, and I look forward to sharing with you a little bit about what I've been up to next. So, about me and what I've been up to. First of all, let me introduce myself in case you're new to the channel. My name is Kim Smith, and I am the author of romantic women's fiction and caper mysteries. And I have a lot of other stuff out there on Amazon. If you just go and you look me up, you'll find all my different books and the things that I've been busy doing. But lately, the most recent book that I've produced and had to come out in April was In the Holler, the first book in the Mount Moriah series, a romantic women's fiction series that I've just begun to come out with. The second book will be out in July. I'm going to start doing all the promotions with the cover reveal and all that very soon. And then after that, we'll have an October release for the third book. And so I just look forward to sharing all these books with you guys. And I hope that you're going out and you're looking them up and you're reading them and you're enjoying them, because I really have enjoyed writing them for you. So last week, we talked about beginning writers and where to begin your story when you're a beginning writer. Now, in my opinion, a beginning writer can be someone who's just attempting their first novel, regardless of age. You could be in your 20s or you could be in your 60s. I don't think that age has anything to do with a starting point for an author. And so we talked a lot about where you can begin a story and how to get that thing going. Today, I wanted to talk about some questions that beginning writers have, like, how do I know what book to write? What kind of book am I gonna produce? And we're gonna address a lot of these kinds of questions today, and I look forward to examining it with you. They're pretty commonly asked questions, and they're not hard to answer, but they may be difficult for a beginning writer. So in order to answer the question, what kind of book am I going to write? You have to decide what your favorite type of read is. To be honest, in my opinion, and it's just my opinion, just like everybody else, I have one. If you're going to write a book that's going to be the book of your heart, it generally is going to come from something you've read. If you love writing books that have women characters, you probably have a shelf full of books where you've been reading books with women characters. If you are enjoying reading young adult fantasy novels because of the adventure and the excitement and the fun side of it, maybe you should write a young adult fantasy novel. The way I see it is like this. You just have to pick the genre. You have to pick the category. It's going to be fiction, nonfiction, a cookbook, a literary novel. It's going to fall into a category. And then once you pick the category, let's just pick fiction. I know fiction best of all because that's what I write. Say you decide you want to write fiction, okay? What kind of fiction do you want to write? Because the category of fiction is very big and wide and broad. You need to pick a category within the category, and that's called a genre. Pick a genre within the fiction category. It could be romance, it could be historical, it could be Western, it could be fantasy, it could be horror. There's a lot of different things you can pick from so far as genre is concerned. Pick the category, pick the genre, and you're on your way. Now, after you've picked your category, you've picked your genre, you got to start writing. And like I said last week, you need characters, you need a setting, you need a plot, you need something for the characters to be after in their lives. What do they want? They have to want something. There has to be conflict. There has to be something that keeps them from getting what they want. And all of these little items on the list come under the category of crafting a story. And I wouldn't have enough time on this video, and maybe not several, to talk about crafting a story. But if you're interested in that, leave me a comment down below, and I'll see about doing some type of a series of videos just for that, where we can talk about crafting a story, where to start, how to get through roadblocks. But what I want to talk about now is critiques. A lot of beginning writers, beginning authors, seniors who are now writing, they always want to write their first chapter and then they want to have it critiqued. And I just want to say, once again, this is my opinion, just for what it's worth. I don't believe that beginning writers need to worry about having anything critiqued until they are finished with their first draft. It serves no purpose for you to have written a chapter and to take it to a group of other writers to have them read it and to tell you what's wrong with it. Mainly because that first chapter may change a lot of different times throughout the course of your writing that novel. And if you have too many, my mother would say, have too many cooks in the kitchen, then something's going wrong with the broth. If you have too many people giving their opinion about your story so far, even just a chapter, there are going to be a lot of different opinions. There are going to be a lot of people tell you what's wrong with it. Maybe a few might tell you some good things about it, which is very beneficial. But in my opinion, it is far more important for you to write the entire thing from start to finish and know your story and know your characters and know everything about it before you take it and put it before someone else and ask their opinion. Everybody has an opinion, right? And they don't mind sharing it if you ask them to give you their opinion. I don't think it serves any purpose for you to do that before you finish your first draft. That's my opinion. And another thing that beginning writers often say is, how do I self-edit? Perhaps, this just bears repeating, perhaps you've only written a chapter. You could go back through and you could self-edit that first chapter, but my thing is, why? Why are you worrying about what's wrong with that first chapter? There's a disease that authors have where they just keep writing the same chapter over and over and over and perfecting it and perfecting it and perfecting it, feeling like that's the norm, that's how they should do it, before they go on and write anything else. If you ask me, the length of time you spent self-editing that first chapter, you could have spent writing 5 more. You might be a quarter of the way through the entire novel if you didn't stop to self-edit all the time. That's just my opinion for what it's worth, you guys. But that's just how I see it. And I say this with love. I really say this with love because I have done all of these things that I tell you are not worth your time. I've done them all. I used to do that same thing, polish that first chapter, second chapter in that area, whatever the first 25 to 30 pages was, because that's what you're going to use to submit to an agent if you're going to go the traditional publishing route. And you think that first 25 to 30 pages, maybe sometimes more, has to be perfect. And it doesn't. It really, truly doesn't. The entire book has to be perfect. And there is plenty of time for editing, for self-editing, for professional editing, for proofreading, all of those things. You have all that in your future. I promise you do. You don't have to do it in the first chapter. You don't even have to do it during the first draft, because first drafts are just that. They're the first. They're the very first thing that comes out of your fingertips. They're not necessarily going to be the best thing you ever wrote. So don't stress about that. Just know it and move on. And while I'm on the subject, a lot of first authors, beginning writers have the worry about, well, how am I going to publish this? How am I going to get this published? What am I going to do? Am I going to self-publish it? Am I going to indie publish it? Am I going to traditionally publish it? And it's like they haven't even written the first draft yet, and all of a sudden the big news for them, the big worry for them is, how am I going to get this published? Don't worry about that now. I'm telling you with love, if you would just move forward and finish the book, get busy and finish the book. I want you to get the end on page before you worry about anything else. Don't worry about the edits. Don't worry about publishing. Don't worry about marketing. Don't worry about any of that till you finish the first draft. Please do this for me. And finally, the next question is a very important question now. I'm not giving it, I'm not saying anything negative toward it, but a lot of beginning writers want to know if they should have a website and start getting fans and followers before they get their book ready to publish. And that's a tricky question. And I'll answer it yes, but. Yes, you should have a website because you're going to need one eventually anyway. So when you get it, it's irrelevant. Get it whenever you feel like you're ready to get it. But, and here's the caveat, don't spend a lot of money for it. There's a plenty of sites out there that are free, that you can have a website and a blog and it won't cost you anything. There's no need to go and spend all this money for hosting and domains and privacy and, newsletters and all that kind of stuff right yet. Give it time, everything in time, you guys. Get that first draft written, then we'll worry about edits, then we'll worry about publishing, and then we'll worry about paying for a website. Well, that's about all I have for you today. I've really enjoyed just getting all this off my chest. As you can tell, I'm pretty passionate about, if you're a beginning writer, no matter what age you are, you could be in your 20s, you could be in your 60s, you could be anywhere in the middle. It's just so important, so critical to get the story out. So many people don't think about the story. They think about everything else, all those extraneous things that we hear published authors talking about. And we want to be those published authors. And one day you will. I promise you that. But until you get that finished draft, until you get the story out on paper, there's not going to be anything to publish, right? That's it for today, you guys. Till next time, y'all be safe.